Yeah, we do. That's what we need.
And you're up moving around like.
Finally, yeah, I get my doctor finally gave me, said I could get, go back.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm so afraid like this. I think, I hope I can remember names or like recall things or.
Those are scary things.
Oh, yeah. Well, that, I mean, I remember how.
Seeing that we are live and that it is 4:30, I will call the February 9th meeting of the Library Board of Trustees to order. First item on the agenda would be the visitors. And I think I'll just take them in the order that they came to me. So Josh Norrick. If you'd state your name and maybe your address or something for the record.
Josh Norrick. I live at 2013 Clayton Avenue. So we're on the east side. We go to McCullough Branch as our home library. I'm here today to address my concerns about comments made by Councilman James Rabin on January 4th, comparing funding the libraries to funding typewriters. To me, this is another long line of attacks against libraries across America. And it kind of struck a nerve with me. So I thought, we need to get our love out there for the library. So I want you to know my family utilizes the library system. We love it. My kids get books there every summer. They utilize the school libraries during the regular school years. My son has found a lot of new interest in there. He learned some programming for computers and all that stuff. My wife has utilized the meeting rooms here for trainings for childcare. She finds new books in the kids section to go and read to her childcare that she works at. And every time we're in there, there is people everywhere in there. There's kids going to the kids section. There's people using the computers to maybe look up jobs. People browsing books, the DVD collection. And that's what I can see from people being there. That's not necessarily all the people that are using the online services that we have. I'm pretty confident that investment in our library system needs to continue, especially in areas, when you look at areas that aren't necessarily served by a close enough branch for kids to even walk to a library. And, we have food deserts throughout Vanderburgh County. We need maybe to look at the library deserts and find a means of getting a place where they can study, they can meet with tutors. Other people can go in there and look for jobs online, that kind of thing. We need to get out there that the library system needs to stay in place. It needs to have more funding, not less funding. Investment in the future is what we need. We need more education. We need all of that out there. That's all I have. I just want to make sure you guys knew library is a greatly loved place. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate your comments, and it's comments like that are the cheerleaders for the library system, and it's good to hear that. And I know everybody else that's listening hears that and probably feels the same. So thank you. Jamie L.
Hello again. You guys are all having a great day today. My name is Jamie. I'm a resident of Vanderburgh County, and I'm here to talk about the non-solicitation policy in regards to political signs during early voting. We opened up this discussion a few months ago, and I appreciate to be able to continue having dialogue in regards to this because it's such a paramount concept when it comes to our library, including the foundation of it, the resources behind it, and it all comes back to that voter concept. So I'm requesting that the non-solicitation policy is updated to allow for political campaign signs during early voting season, whenever it's actively taking place at the EVPL locations. There are 11 days that the EVPL is actively utilizing or functioning as a satellite location for the election office to allow for active voting. There are 2 additional locations in Vanderburgh County that also participate in early voting, and EVPL is the only location that does not allow for the political signs on property during that time frame. One of the arguments that was stated was that it's unattended. An area that we had discussed previously was that there are unattended signs on EVPL property in regards to a contractual agreement between EVPL and the Evansville Vanderburgh Foundation. And we've acknowledged that that has been approved. And so while we are under contract with the election office as a site location, I'm asking that we also allow for those political campaign signs. We have any dialogue?
Joe?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you got very good comments there, and I do know candidates like to have their candidate signs up. Maybe the library would consider putting it in a restricted area so they're not scattered all over the whole property, or
Yes.
maybe, and then maybe limit, because I know some candidates, they like to approach people. You know, maybe we could limit, you know, hey, you can put a sign up, but you know, these people are going into the library to get a, you know, audio or a book or something. They might not want to be approached, you know,
Yeah.
so I don't know, maybe there's some kind of compromise where we could have a limited area for signage. You know, it says, hey, here's the designated area, but we don't want it all over the entire building and place, you know, because like you said, most people are going in to use the library, maybe not necessarily voting at the, you know, at that time. So I don't know, just food for thought. But I think it's a good idea to allow it.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's actually part of it. You know, if we could construct even some designated areas, we can establish some guidelines for how we do our political campaign signs. You know, all of those are absolutely acceptable and open for discussion. But I think just not allowing them at all under the precept of aesthetics, because that's the category it falls into in the non-disclosure or non-solicitation policy, just doesn't bear enough weight, in my opinion. And we've also actively had unattended yard signs placed on property during the year for a much longer time frame. Because now, listen, I'm only talking 11 days. We're not mentioning, you know, whenever an individual or candidate can turn in their candidacy form starting like February 4th or January 5th is beginning, February 4th is a deadline. We're not talking a full year. We're just saying during the time frame that EVPL is a transference of power from the election office during the active voted season, that our candidates who are on the ballot will allow for some representation or visibility that allows voters to know, hey, I'm on the ballot whenever you come in to cast your vote. I just want you to know that I'm there, what I'm there for, whatever it is, you know, but that allows for that conversation, which again, supports our libraries. You know, we're each here in an appointed capacity from an elected individual. And so you have this circular relationship. So creating the barrier for communication for our voters to know who's on their ballot as they're making those selections, that's again, determining a lot of things that we're encountering here, just doesn't seem reasonable.
Mr. President, if I could, we had a memo from Steve Barber. I was trying to find the date. I think came on December 22nd because of the request that was made. And there was a recommendation not to change the policy with what Member Kiefer has suggested. Would we have to change the policy to allow?
Well, the question is, I mean, they're saying, once we open it up for First Amendment purposes, I think we're opening up Pandora's box. I mean, if somebody wants to say, we want a 10-day period for pro-abortion, we want 10-day anti-abortion signs to be, you know, in the library. You know, we want 10 days to be able to exercise our rights to do that. In the memo that we wrote was based upon some Supreme Court precedent. And what it says is that, you know, when you go to a place to vote, you know, you don't want to be deluged with people telling you how to vote. I mean, historically, that's what happened. And we don't prevent people from holding signs. You know, if people want to stand out and hold a sign, that's fine. But we don't want to have to deal with, administrate the different signs that end up on our premises. And it might be all types of signs. This may not just be voting signs. You know, and I don't think that's what you want to do, because once you open that up, I think you're opening it up for all types of signs. So,
Okay, if I,
and I'm not sure what the benefit is because we're not preventing people from holding the signs. We just don't want them from aesthetic reasons, keeping their signs up, leaving them, then we have to deal with them. To remove them or whatever, and if we remove them, are we removing the wrong ones? You know, we get accused of removing the ones for this mayor candidate or that mayor candidate. And I just don't think that we want, as a library or as an institution, we want to get into the politics. You don't see any other building here, you know, that allows unattended signs, any other government building that allows unattended signs. And I'm not sure why you would want to start here.
Can I have a rebuttal on that? So Cedar Hall Elementary School is taxpayer funded and did allow for political signs during early voting season. So did Old National Events Plaza, which actually has more early voting days than EVPL. In addition, the policy for regulations under section 2, which the regulations is where the aesthetics aspect comes into play for the political signs. But what you can do is you actually can stand on the sidewalk, walkways in front of the building, around the building, and areas for persons to speak, canvass, perform, and distribute materials. So what I am requesting is actually a less invasive concept to what's already established as far as just exhibiting your presence on the ballot during that active voting time. There is no state law about political signs on public property. It does go back to, you know, the location, which is why I'm here to have this discussion today. The other aspect is when we're talking about the parameters around political signs and leaving signs where the case might be, you know, I think establishing, you know, guidelines or expectations is completely acceptable and really anticipated in that scenario. But I think to just say that we can't have them at all in regards to aesthetics and because they're unattended, but we have other signs that are unattended for longer periods of time, we have kind of a counteractive or contradictive scenario taking place. Now, the other argument too is since this is for all persons on the ballot and we can have people who are present, it creates a disadvantage to those who maybe not have big donors or a big political campaign fund to either pay individuals to be there or have volunteers that have the time to be there. So you have a discrepancy, but allowing for the visibility of the signs to be present during those 11 days of active voting, I think is a reasonable request.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I think the time has been maxed. If we could, because we discussed this earlier.
Sure.
We had a very lengthy discussion. If we could maybe follow back up at a later.
Yeah, no, I wanted to hear her out, just to make sure. And I do appreciate your comments, and anybody that knows me knows my history. So I liked having my signs up everywhere I could get them.
Right.
When I ran for office, but I also understand the situation we face. So what I would suggest is that we will take this under advisement again. I mean, we've gotten an opinion from our attorney, but I think it warrants at least looking at. We can't take action today because it's not part of our agenda. There's
Right.
nothing on the minutes, but I do greatly appreciate the fact that you're willing to come forward and
Have the
share your
conversation.
belief.
And
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time to listen to me
No,
and being a volunteer on the board and all the things that you guys do for the Evansville Public Library. It is greatly appreciated. So it is a reciprocal
But
concept.
thank you.
Yep, my pleasure. Thanks.
All right, moving on, there is no correspondence is my understanding today. So, consent agenda. Do I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Don't move.
There's a
Second.
motion, a
Second.
second. Is there any discussion about any?
I didn't want to make a comment in the director's report. Want to shout out to Jake Colmeyer for creating sharedtutor.com step-by-step report for reading support services to EVSC teachers and administrators. It's helped parents and guardians and assisted students after school hours for tutoring. And it's connected EVSC with other organizations that might be able to work with parents on individual learning needs. Much appreciated.
I have a comment similarly on the director's report, and I'm not going to call out a specific example. However, every month in that director's report, when we read the information from the various branches, there are consistently examples of our staff that are helping patrons problem solve. And in this day and time, and many times it has to do with technology. And many times our staff are meeting the needs of someone who clearly is frustrated, unable to come to a solution. And just bridging that gap, taking the time to help them problem solve. And I just wonder if we didn't exist, where would these individuals go for that kind of help that's free and that's accessible? There were examples of someone who was aging out of foster care who needed help with some documents. Another example of an individual who couldn't figure out how to download and print documents that they needed for I don't remember the specific example. I believe it was something financial. But time and time again, month after month, we see examples of that. And what a great way to make the world a better place and to help people avoid stress and frustration by being able to problem solve for them. So I just want to call out all of our branches and staff who bridge that gap for folks every day. It's a small thing, but I think it's a very, very important thing. Thank you.
I have to agree with that. And the fact that it takes a minute to read through all of that. But I want you to know, I do read through it and it takes a minute. And because it does take a minute is a testament to the fact that you all are putting in a whole lot of time. And in my experience dealing with the people, all they want is to see that you are willing to take the time to invest in them. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for all the comments. And my comment is that I appreciate the fact that we catalog all that information and share it so that there's a public record of it. So that, you know, the folks know how active, how involved, and how much good the library and its staff is doing every single day. Because like I said, it's pretty lengthy, so.
If I could, one more, just another comment. I did notice this month, and I'm not sure if it happened prior to this, but on the monthly public service statistics, we are moving towards that, connecting that to the busyness, like what is in the facilities master plan, and looking at that moving forward. So that's much appreciated too, because I think that will be crucial as we move forward with the master plan.
Any other comments? There's a motion to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Governance. First item there is recommendation of the project or general recommendation of project for general obligation bond. You want me to do this one?
That's your name.
All right, it's got my name on it. So just for the record, the Building and Grounds Committee met last week, talked about this, went through it. And so the Building and Grounds Committee has an official recommendation to the full board, and I'll just read it for the record. Upon review of the next potential facilities projects, it is the recommendation of the Building and Grounds Committee that EVPL Board of Trustees authorize postings for financing a $6 million general obligation bond for the renovation of EVPL Oakland, Central, and North Park as outlined in the EVPL Facilities Master Plan. And onto that, that master plan is something that this board has looked at, approved, evaluated, and feel very strongly about that that's the direction the library needs to go. I don't know if there's any need to read the rationale, even though there is good rationale on here, but that is the recommendation from the board. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion from member Kiefer. Is there a
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I would point out that I agree with you, no need to read all the rationale, but the part of the rationale that states that starting with these three or doing these three renovation projects in 2023 will allow the administration and Building and Grounds Committee the needed time to research the options for the remaining projects, which are much larger in scope.
Yeah, I feel
The
great
needs of
that
those
this is a good
buildings.
approach.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item. Oh, that is a big deal, by the way.
Big
You
deal.
don't want to make it sound like it's not a big deal, but that is a big deal.
It's a huge
You know,
deal.
Taking care of what we have. And I think that's an important thing to state. Okay, the next item is a revised holiday and library closure schedule for 2023.
Originally, the dates that were brought to you last month before last for our Staff Institute Day, our staff closure. We need to see about changing those due to some reasons the library needs to be open on those days that we found out since then. So we would like to change the April 24th staff day and the October 13th staff day to Monday, May the 8th and Friday, September the 29th. For 2023. In addition, EVPL would like to do an early closure to all EVPL locations at 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday, December the 18th through the 21st, and then Wednesday and Thursday, December the 27th and 28th. Proposal EVPL is seeking the board's approval of revisions of the library closure schedule for 2023.
Here's your proposal. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second. Pick how you want to record that one because it was a tie on both sides. Any discussion?
I did have a question just about the 6 p.m. and I'm kind of assuming here that we've got data that shows that we probably don't have a lot of customers or patrons coming in after that time on those
Correct.
dates around Christmas and that.
Correct. Yes, we had our IT department run a traffic count and, circulation. We looked at that and everything, and it's a lot lower
Yeah.
during those 2 weeks.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought.
Yes.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the recommendation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, surplus furniture and equipment.
In your package, you'll see a listing of items that we no longer need or damaged or out of date. Those first few are the replacements of the furniture we purchased as of last year, 2022. It actually came in and you're sitting on a few of those and using the tables. But all 4 locations have been installed. And so we would like to surplus the older items, and then the bottom 2/3 of the list are equipment from our IT department that have been removed from service and or use. A lot of it's obsolete, and as you can see, there's no value to that. So as there has been an estimated value of less than $1,000 per item and an estimated total value less than $5,000 for all items, it qualifies the disposal property at. We do not have to advertise the disposal property at a public or private sale, and we can transfer that without advertising in accordance to Indiana Code 52222. So we'd request the board declare this list of items as surplus and allow the EVPL Foundation to dispose of these items as appropriate.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Any discussion? I don't see any items on there that would warrant my normal questioning, so I'll.
Would have added it if it.
Any other discussion?
I would
All-
just note, I'm sorry, I would just note that the tables that are listed there will be used by the foundation, so they won't be selling them or disposing of those. Those will be used for their annual book sale and will be stored out at the Washington Square.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next is the finance report of appropriations, Laura.
The appropriations balance as of the month end, January 31st, 2023, is $14,340,000, $40,728.37, or an equivalent of 94% of the budget left. We typically look at this in increments of 1/12. However, we've had some expenditures in the first portion of the year in the first month that are preventive maintenance, where the contracts do all at one time. So those will even themselves out as we go, but as you can see, most line items are within that range of the 8% expenditures for January. The investments to date for January 31st, 2023, all 4 funds that are invested with the State Investment Pool Trust Indiana total $14,526,300. The average daily yield for January is 4.3873, or up 0.2754% since December. And the daily average yield for year to date is 4.3756. And that is actually a large jump from last year's average, but that's because they start over on January 1st with that information. So
Any questions?
Lori, on that Trust Indiana, is that just already directed, or do we direct that investment? It's directed by them?
So we invest all of the money within each of the different 4 funds. So the daily or the operating fund, library improvement reserve fund, bond interest redemption, and the rainy day fund. So for instance, you'll see the rainy day fund increased by that $750,000 you approved transferring last month.
I mean, what it's invested in.
No, they do all of
They
that.
do.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we would request withdrawals as needed.
Because I was gonna get with you, because my Robinhood account's not performing as well as this, and if you were directing that, I was gonna
No.
get some advice.
We do not.
Okay.
Any other questions? Approval of bills. I think Belinda's gonna take care of that for us.
Yes, for this month, we have total invoices of $1,306,685.40. Payroll dated January 13th of $262,078.08, and a payroll dated January 27th of $399,977.66. And this is in the form of a motion.
Your second,
Second.
motion and second, any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Pay the bills. All right, other business.
I guess I'll note this under other business. Since you gave the authorization to move ahead with the general obligation bond, we will be reaching out to the city council. This process is just like we did last year. So we will have to request additional appropriations from the city council and go to a meeting with them and come back with you guys. But at the March board meeting, yes, next month is March, we will have the preliminary bond resolution for approval. We'll go forth back to the city council, and then we'll come back here for final approval. Just wanted to kind of let you guys know the timeline on that. But we should hopefully have everything wrapped up by April's meeting.
Will you make sure that you keep the board apprised of those dates and when you're going to the city council?
Yes,
and-
definitely.
And that's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out probably to Laura and to Joshua Claiborne tomorrow, just like we did last time.
Yep.
And request that if city council members want to speak to us about it prior, that we go ahead and sit down and talk with them, which is exactly what we did
Will
last
you
year.
keep us posted on those conversations?
Yes, for sure.
Thank
We
you.
did invite the building and grounds committee members last time to sit in on those meetings, so I will definitely let you guys know when we set those up.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other business. Announcements?
I can,
A couple here.
The foundation board report, I know it wasn't on here, but
Oh,
where would we do that at?
right here.
No.
You want to go ahead or?
No, you can do the foundation. I'll do the other announcements.
Okay, sorry. So we met on January 18th at 4:30, and we met here at Central Library. We had scheduled to have the investment report. Our investment advisor was not able to attend. But that information was passed along to all the board members afterward. The board is really discussing how to promote board member membership. We did have one member drop off, Dr. Brian Perry, who was named as the superintendent in South Gibson School Corporation. And so he's been unable to attend, and he dropped off the board. We're looking at promoting other members. There was the election of officers, Eric Wire as president again. I will be vice president. And Marcy Al is secretary, with treasurer being Barb Williams. Lori Tomlin gave the financial report for the year-to-date report of finances. And there was a motion to move the 10,000 with the caveat that we talked to Matt first, and we did that. And that 10,000 is anything above 50,000 moves over. We had a statement of activity and a statement of position for total assets for the foundation at $849,906.35. Scott Kinney gave the ex officio report, which was an update on facilities planning and the work at McCullough with MKM and Hafer. And then we talked about the remainder of this facilities plan, the fact that this board had entered into contracts with Ice Miller and Baker Tilly and named MKM as the architect of record for any future projects. Looking to begin the next 3-year plan, you're probably going to discuss that. Migrating over to the new ILS with a new company, Polaris. And then some old business. We talked about the 2022 book sales. The continued work of the foundation task force, which they had finalized the vision, mission, and values of the foundation. Programs and champions of programs. And then a board retreat is scheduled for Thursday, July 20th at 8 a.m. And I think that about wraps it up, except for the 2023 book sales, which March 4th and 5th coming up here in the Browning Room. So be there. It's going to be exciting. And then August 5th and 6th at Washington Square, and November 4th and 5th, which those are revised dates because of a holiday, right?
Veterans Day. Yep, Veterans Day.
So that's about it for the foundation board.
Thank you, Rick. Excellent report. And I just have a couple of announcements, couple of shout outs. Have you noticed the last couple of months, because the agenda's been a little bit heavier. We haven't had a staff member come speak to you all. We will start that again here in the hopefully next month. But to that end, just want to let you know, talking to the staff today, I found out we've had an appointment in a maker space scheduled every day this week so far. So that is awesome that that's starting to take off again. Other exciting news is Heather and staff have been working on a telehealth partnership and are getting close to having news to come for you for that. They're also working on a partnership in the future to have a legal assistance kiosk to be placed at the McCullough Branch Library. Hopefully we'll have more news on that for you in the future. Another exciting thing, Chase Brasser and a team has worked on developing a community resources page. And they did, I wish I knew, Heather knows all the team members, so please jump in, Heather, because I don't. I just read the email and that page is up and it is excellent. I looked at it today and it has community resources and services for folks in our community that may need those resources, and it's a great thing. And I just want to make sure that team is recognized, and sorry, I don't remember all of you, but Heather jumped in if you have to. And the last thing I had to remind you all is Meet Your Legislator forum. That is a partnership with us and the League of Women Voters is here this weekend in this room on Saturday. 9:30, remember right? Thank you, Darren.
I have a couple more announcements. We had the Latino Resource Fair here this past Saturday. We had 130 participants. We had 21 partner organizations in this room who showed up to help those communities. And I just wanted to share a few stories and some feedback that we got. A woman came to the resource fair with health problems, including a potential liver transplant. And through her getting a translator from the Mexican consulate, they're going to help her navigate the health system here in the tri-state area so that hopefully she can get the health resources that she needs. 2 families showed up with babies who were not restrained in a car seat, and Little Lambs was here on site, and they left with car seats properly installed in their cars because they were able to connect to that community agency that does that work in our community. A family that had only been in our country for 22 days found out about our event and they got help settling into Evansville and connecting with, again, the resources that they need as brand new US citizens. And a partner organization has already reached out and said, thank you so much for your hard work on this wonderful event. It is much needed in our community. So they are about to send out a feedback survey to all those partner organizations. It is highly likely that we will have this fair again, possibly quarterly or biannually, one or the other, to be decided on that. So I just wanted to really shout that out. That was a huge undertaking, both for our staff, but also for the partner organizations. And it was very, very successfully pulled off. One more that I have, it was kind of in Scott's director's report, but I got a little bit of the data and I just thought it was interesting, so I thought I would share it. Kate Lenderman, who works in our technical services department and does a lot of our nonfiction selection and purchasing and really looking at the data, deep dived into some of our nonfiction collections and put together the top 10 subjects for adult nonfiction in all of the year of 2022. So our number one was food and cookbooks. That should probably not be surprising. Everybody likes a good recipe. Second is biography.
Yep,
Third
that's
is psychology. Fourth was agriculture and related techniques. Fifth are decorative and textile arts. Six were diseases. Seven was the promotion of health, so diet and exercise. 8 was Christianity. 9 is drawing and 10 was economics. So just a little overview of how our community was using our adult nonfiction collection over the year of 2022 that I thought you might find interesting. And additionally, I won't bore you with all the numbers, but all of our nonfiction collections at all the locations, barring one, which I think was just due to some weeding, were up last year. So our community is not just reading, they are reading for information and for knowledge and using our nonfiction collections. And Kate did a phenomenal job. I absolutely love seeing it. She sent it to me because she knows I'm a dork about spreadsheets. So she obviously sent it to the right person.
Very good. Any other announcements? One thing I would add is that I know that somebody at the EVPL, and I should know who, does a really good job of putting posts on the various social media outlets. And if you don't follow,
They're right there.
and if you don't follow the EVPL as a board member, please do, and consider sharing those posts, because I can tell you when I do it, I get lots of comments and feedback. So there's a lot of people that may be friends or connected to you that are not connected to the EVPL. That's a great tool and way to get the word out. So.
Heather does it primarily, but for just the past 3 months, I want to shout out Faith too. Raise your hand,
Yes.
Faith. Faith took on her duties and many of Heather's while Heather was out with her brand new gorgeous baby.
Congratulations. All right, anything else? Hearing none, I will call the meeting to adjournment. Thank you very much.
Meetings.